Previously on Wine Wars.
Wine is magic. Wine is life in its simplest form. Wine is comfort, joy, the elixir of healing, a balm for the shattered and the ecstatic soul. Wine is about love and loss. Wine is the celebration of life and love and the basic sustenance of the body and the soul. Wine is a lifestyle decision that, when properly applied, positively alters your perception of your place in the universe. From your head wine guy.
Wine Wars, the show with four friends who love three things: wine and Star Wars.
Welcome to Wine Wars. You're joining the four of us as we sip, snip, and talk about wine. And today we have a very special treat for our listeners because we are not in our basement in Madison, Wisconsin, but instead we are out on a beautiful lake in Oconomowoc and joining some people who know a lot more about wine than we do. But I think we'll just start by introducing our special guests and our topic, which is White Burgundy. It's going to be fun, people. It's going to be fun. So our first special guest is Stephen David. You want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm in the wine business for 33 years, and I have functioned as a direct importer and have a lot of friends in Burgundy, specifically, many places around the world as well. But if there is someone who knows an inordinate amount about white Burgundy, perhaps it's me.
Oh my gosh, we are going to have fun. Amy, hi.
Hi. I'm so excited. I love white Burgundy. I'm stoked.
And Scott.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Are you ready for this?
Isn't that a song? The 90s? Do you remember the 90s?
Nope.
I'll fix it in post.
You're the musician. And Jason.
Hello.
Hey.
It's the 4th of July weekend, everybody. Let's
Happy
drink some
Independence
white.
Day.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Hey, you're empty, Steven. You're doing it wrong.
I started first.
And then our very special, and you know him from the tip from Cox. Everybody likes to get the tip from Cox. But Jeff's here today.
Yeah, wine guy.
And wine guy. Thank you for letting us do this. We're really happy to be here.
Welcome to the insanity.
We'll take it.
Woo! So we already have wine in our glass.
That's right.
Or some of us do. Do we
Yeah.
need to hit Steven?
How did Stephen David not get wine?
He did. He drank it already.
Pro.
What are we having? What do we need to know?
Well, I guess we should probably talk about what is white Burgundy, because a lot of people don't understand. It's Chardonnay, and Chardonnay is white Burgundy. Although not all Chardonnay is white Burgundy, but all white Burgundy, well, no, 96% of all white Burgundy is Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's where the grape was created. And Chardonnay itself is a cross hybridization by Mother Nature of two grapes, Pinot Blanc and Gouais Blanc. And that created, like about 500 years ago, a grape we know today as Chardonnay. So when you really want to talk about Chardonnay, this is the mother source, Central Burgundy.
How did they figure that out? DNA testing at the crime scene?
You know, I wish I could tell you that, but I learned from the late Jack Weisgerber, so I can't go back and ask him how he knew.
And so we are having a Chardonnay.
You are.
Mm-hmm. And everything we're going to drink is all Louis Latour.
Well, the reason we stuck with Louis Latour is because, first of all, it's the most venerable house. They've been in business for 218 years. And secondly, they have over 320 potential bottlings every year. And I've been a big advocate of their wines because I know their winemaker, and I've actually been the exclusive Louis Latour house in Wisconsin for, good God, 26 years now.
Wow.
So I like everything they do. And I've known number 5, 6, and 7 of the Louis. There really is a guy named Louis Latour. It's not just a label. Unfortunately, number 6 just passed away about 2 months ago. He was a great friend of mine. But it's a really great house that touches every part of Burgundy, and if you want me to go on, I can tell you about different parts of Burgundy, because there are several satellites.
Absolutely go as nerd out as hard as you need to.
Scott will, so let's
Yeah,
just green
let's
light.
let you nerd out.
Well, first of all, you have to know that just from production standpoint, there's 9 bottles of Bordeaux made for every 1 bottle of Burgundy that's produced. So it's considerably rare. That being said, it's pretty much dead center in France. There are different satellite regions which zero in on microclimates and soil differentiations. Today we're going to talk about several of them. We're going to be in the south, in the Mâconnais, and come north a little bit to the Côte Chalonnaise, and then we're going to talk about the Côte de Beaune, which is pretty much the holy
My
land.
favorite.
Yeah. But
That's where we get a lot of our dick jokes.
Right.
Around Côte de Beaune.
From the Côte de Beaune.
Put it out there right now.
So we're looking forward to that.
all right, well, just from a semantical point of view, it's B-E-A-U-N-E.
That's just details.
Yeah.
You need to know that there's 3 levels of Burgundy that you can look for as a consumer. And one, I guess the easiest way to talk about it is to use these initials, AC, which stands for Appellation Contrôlée or Appellation Contrôlée, PC, which stands for Premier Cru or First Cru, which is not the top. And then there's GC, which is the top, that's Grand Cru, which is responsible for only about 3% of the white Burgundies that are produced. So most consumers will be familiar with AC and PC, or the appellation wines known also as the village wines, and the Premier Cru, which is an elevated standard, a little bit better and sometimes vineyard designated. Not all white Burgundy is done in oak, which I think is particularly important because in all the restaurants we go to these days, there's always somebody at some table squealing about having to have no oak Chardonnay, which, you know, it's just a matter of popular style. You can get heavily oak Chardonnay, you can get judiciously oak Chardonnay, or you can get no oak Chardonnay, and they make all 3 in Burgundy.
So as a reference point, when this season opener, we talked about going to that, what was it called in Chicago?
Oh, the Chicago Athletic Club?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we ordered
Petit Chablis.
Petit Chablis, which is, so there's the Grand Cru, Premier Cru, the Village appellations, and then beneath that would be the Petit Chablis.
Well, Chablis is one of the satellite microclimates. That's the northernmost one. And it's actually, we don't have a Chablis today, but actually it's important to point out that while this 3-tier system of quality exists, Chablis it's kind of an odd duck because it's actually closer to Champagne than it is to the rest of Burgundy. And it's also located in what, according to carbon dating, 5 million years ago was an inland ocean, and so the bulk of the bottom, which the roots of the grapes touch, is oyster shells that are millions of years old. So it gives a particular lean, sleety crispness to Chablis. So yeah, so Chablis is actually a Burgundy, and a lot of people don't know that. So, but it's also Chardonnay.
So do all the subregions of Burgundy adhere to those 3 tiers?
Yes.
Okay,
By law.
by law. Okay.
Yes, Burgundy's pretty regulated.
What does it take to get from Premier Cru up to Grand Cru?
Probably about $100 a bottle.
Wow.
From the producer's side, though, it's much more stringent, right? The
Oh,
regulation.
yeah. Well, maybe I should say, no matter where you go in any of the parts of Burgundy, the whole valley is kind of shaped like a big soup bowl. So on the bottom, on the flat land on the bottom of the bowl, that's the Appellation Contrôlée, or the village wines, the AC. And then as you go up the sides of the valley, you get into the Premier Cru, or the First Cru, and that's because of the elevation. The vines are stressed. They have to go down deeper, work harder to get the nutrition they need to produce the grapes. And so that adds complexity. And then when you get way up on top, at the top of the hill, that's the Holy Land up there. That's where the Grand Cru is. And that's where things like Corton Charlemagne are produced. Corton Charlemagne being the actual vineyard from the Emperor Charlemagne
Oh, that's so cool.
from the 800s.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they still honor him because it was his favorite wine.
Wow.
I want to drink that.
Do we have anything from that region today?
Oh, I think we drank it all, didn't we, Jeff?
We tried.
All right, I support that too.
So what's the first wine we're drinking here then?
Well, the first one I'd like you to. I'm not.
This is just a warm-up wine.
Right. This,
Okay.
Whatever you have in your
nice.
glass right now, let me come back.
We're
to
just stretching right now.
So this is the Pouilly-Vinzelles.
that. Right. So we should actually start first of all with the Macon-Villages.
Okay.
Okay. So Macon-Villages, or the villages of Macon, is almost the southernmost satellite. There is one below that. I'll just say it so you know, Beaujolais. But since we're only talking about white wine, we won't mention that word again.
So Beaujolais is all just red.
Mr.
100%
Beaujolais.
red, right?
No, there is actually a Beaujolais Blanc, but
There is.
you'd be more able to locate like chicken's teeth than you would a Beaujolais Blanc.
Oh, wow.
Because they don't exist.
If you hear heavy breathing, by the way, it's because some of us are out of wine.
And not two golden retrievers running wild.
No, I'm just like pacing back and forth and really agitated right now.
And we should say we're filming in front of a live studio audience today. This is a first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey everybody, say hi.
Cheers. We've said it before, but we weren't serious. But this is the first time. We were dreaming.
There have been spectators, but this is a big group. This is great.
And this, and
They're almost like wine spectators.
Oh.
I see what you did there.
I see
I
a double
will
page
see
ad
myself
coming.
out.
It's going to be a long afternoon.
And they're all representatives of Wine Maniacs, a fantastic bistro here in Oconomowoc and another on the river in Milwaukee. And they are well educated members of the restaurant world that are here to learn and participate, and I think probably taste. If I'm not mistaken.
They are, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And we're getting a pretty full tour of the Louis Latour white Burgundies, right?
Right. So let me get back to Mâconnais,
Yeah.
which this is, and thank you. This is now the perfect temperature.
Excellent.
Macon-Villages, and this is designated as Chameroy, but if you look on the label, it looks like Chameroy. Macon-Villages is a wine that comes normally from many different sources. Obviously, Louis Latour is not the only producer of white Burgundy. But most people that make Macon-Villages make a negociant or a co-op wine, and they buy a little bit of grape from all different producers and blend it together. The reason I always stick with Latour is because the Chameroy family actually grows all these grapes under contract to Latour. So as far as Macon-Villages, it's affordable, and this is a pretty good representation of the quality because all the grapes come out of one place and they are commandeered, if you will, by Latour's winemaker. So this is no oak Chardonnay, a good baseball throwaway from a wine a lot of people have heard of. Well, at least going back to the Cheech and Chong days, Pouilly-Vinzelles.
Cheech.
But this is basic white Burgundy, no oak. So it's 100%. You get it. It's very clean. It's very crisp. It's very fresh. It's not trying to confuse you. It's just saying, hey, I'm Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Love me. And it's pretty easy to love.
And I think we do.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is just how I like it.
Well, before we started, with the microphones, I was going on about the temperature of white Burgundy because you really can over chill it, and that just closes it up. It's somewhere between warm and ice cold is the place you want to drink all these wines.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own way of doing it.
I am enough of a snob now that if I am served in a restaurant with a white that's too cold or a red that's too warm, I feel very bitter.
How dare you, sir?
And
How
humbly violated.
dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, take the ice bucket away. You don't need it. So this is probably the wine that you would run across the most often in white Burgundy, a good Macon. But never do you see this in oak. Stainless steel, by the way, was first perfected in only 1916. So you might wonder, what did they use prior to that?
I was just wondering, what did they use?
Amphoras, which amphoras were made, they were like earthenware or clay pots, and they actually buried them right up to the edge and kept them in the ground. And then along
Like
came
the
stainless. Or you can use an oak barrel that's been used 100 times and doesn't really lend anything to the wine anymore either as a vessel to hold the wine. But
Do they do that anymore, or do they just
amphora?
cite-
Amphora?
No, the super old oak barrels.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah, I mean, there's oak barrels that are 100 years old that are big enough for all of us to stand inside of.
That they still use.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a mindset of, let's use this barrel as much as possible to get it, much
And-
use out of it.
I should tell you that at one time there were over 100 barrel makers in central Burgundy, and now there's only really 3 significant ones left. Since you're giving me license to brag about Louis Latour, he is in fact one of the guys that still has his own barrel making facility. In fact, their office is in downtown Beaune. The address is 18.
Amy, did you hear that?
I did. I want to go there. I want to go to there.
It's 18 Rue de Tannelière, which means the street of barrel makers.
wow.
And if you go out to the facility, it's kind of fun to watch it because all these guys are only about 4'6", and they're wearing the blue union coveralls, and they're all smoking non-filtered Gauloise down to where their fingernails are kind of brown. But that's because there's smoke hanging in the air from 5 feet up. There's a bucket of coals smoldering around each barrel as they build it, and the way they bend that is, this is probably not politically correct, but they use a horsetail mop and a bucket of water, and they just keep whacking the side of it, and they bend the wood and they whack it, and the steam forces the wood to bend, and then they put a hoop and a stave over it, and now you go and toast it, and there's 9 different degrees of toasting, but you don't have time to talk about all that.
Or do we?
We're gonna need a longer podcast.
Sounds like a great episode, though.
Is it Wednesday yet?
Let's get toasted. Toasted on Wine Wars.
So how do Wisconsin or American palates typically find, is this a good entrance point for a white Burgundy?
It should be, but it hasn't always been.
So they're used to California oak.
Well, yeah, and I sell a good deal of California wine, so I'm not disparaging the
Oh, and I drink a great deal of it. So.
bless you for that.
Okay.
But these wines are unique. I would say the main difference is they're food friendly.
Yeah.
They don't fight what you're going to have. You know, and I mean, I'm not going to pick on any particular winery because I don't want to get sued, but over the years, we've had some wineries in Napa that are just like, wow, with the oak. It's just like, okay, boom. Doesn't matter what you can have, you know, radish sandwiches and you won't even notice because it's so smoky and so heavy.
Right.
So, you know, this is a delicate wine.
Kind of back to your question, though. The Midwest, I think, struggles with Burgundy because it's rarely available by the glass anywhere. So you really don't get a chance to try it. And if it's on a restaurant menu, it tends to be not cheap.
Sure.
That is so true, and I still go to restaurants as part of my business, and people are still amazed when I say, well, that's white Burgundy. And they go, oh, you mean there is a white Burgundy too?
Sure.
Right, yeah, exactly. You know, so trying to find the venue to get people the ability to try it and understand it and realize the value of it is really kind of tough.
Yeah, because it could be so intimidating that nobody would ever want to
Big time.
experiment.
Yep, for sure.
If it were just called Chardonnay, they'd probably be more adventurous.
And actually, some French producers have actually tried that.
Yeah.
You'll get more wine soon, Amy. Calm down.
Thanks, babe.
Drouin tried that, and it still left people cold because they didn't understand it.
Yeah, it was
Now-
pretty expensive looking Chardonnay.
And actually, they priced it moderately just to try to get it available, but retailers didn't know what to do with it. Restaurants still didn't know what to do with it because now they were carrying Burgundy, but it didn't say Burgundy. So it really, it's a mess.
Yeah.
So actually, stuff like this podcast will help a lot
Yeah.
because it does kind of take some of the mystery out of it. And part of it is that Macon is not unaffordable.
Nope. No.
This is beautiful wine in a pretty fair price.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
This is a wine you can take home for under $20.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
You know, we've said on the podcast before, but we should say it again, that often too on a menu you'll see Burgundy as Bourgogne, or on the bottle
Yes.
Bourgogne, and just to know in your head, instant translation, that it's Burgundy, that is
Right.
Chardonnay if
For
it's
sure.
probably 97% chance at Chardonnay if it's white.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah. Well, you want me to talk about the other white grape that you'll never see?
Please.
It's called aligoté. Sometimes just to promote a matter of economics in winemaking, they'll blend in a little aligoté. Aligoté actually comes from the Loire Valley. It's out on the Atlantic coast where it's normally made into a wine called muscadet.
Yeah.
But for some reason or other, it doesn't translate from Loire Muscadet down to Burgundy. They have to call it aligoté, which of course just makes things more confusing.
Is that a legal issue? That, like, Loire has a patent, if you would, on that phrase?
No, it's just damn stubbornness.
Just the French.
Just being French.
Easy.
They do that.
How did it migrate from Loire up to Burgundy?
Winemaker maybe,
Yeah.
Pouilly-Vinzelles. A winemaker maybe carried it with him. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons like that. You know, if we were talking about Syrah and Shiraz, you know, that's how it got to Australia.
Right.
Somebody
Yeah.
kept clippings in their boot,
Put it on their carry-on.
right?
How dare you?
So we're pouring now another Mâconnais wine. This is a little bit more elegant, a little bit more focused than the Macon-Villages. This is called not Pouilly-Vinzelles, which we've all heard of and joked about, but this is Pouilly-Vinzelles, which again, it's one good softball throw away from Pouilly-Vinzelles and about a third less in price because of it. And so this is a single vineyard. It's bottled as Pouilly-Vinzelles en Paradis, or from Paradise. So again, no oak Chardonnay, but a little more focused,
Yeah.
a little more profile. It's a little sharper, a little cleaner.
Brighter.
Yeah.
Brighter.
Yeah. Yum.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anybody got any oysters?
Yeah.
Oysters,
Yeah.
please.
I'm
Yes,
just
please.
happy. I'm just so happy.
To be clear though, Jason would have oysters with like Pepsi. It's not really saying a lot.
Come on.
It's gonna take me years to forget you said that.
It's not true.
It's not true.
He'd have them with Diet Pepsi. Duh.
It is true. He holds a grudge.
Oh man.
This is wonderful.
Well, I should tell you, can I give you a commercial? I
Sure.
usually don't carry this, but Pouilly-Vinzelles went so nuts with the exchange rate for a while that we were looking for some other options. And so Jeff and I have known each other for a long time, so I said, what the hell? Let's get Pouilly-Vinzelles. It's essentially the same wine and not so expensive. So you're one of the few people that actually carries this wine at Wine Maniacs.
So it's grown just outside of the Pouilly-Vinzelles region, designated region? Or?
Like across the street.
Oh.
Oh.
Pouilly-Vinzelles became so popular that somebody with some greed in their heart said, well, we've got to form this co-op now.
Right.
And you've got to pay X amount of dollars every year to belong to the co-op. Otherwise, you can't call it Pouilly-Vinzelles. And there's just enough guys on the other side of the street that said, the hell with you, we'll drink it ourselves.
Yeah.
So
And that's what we have here.
that's what you have here.
What do you think, live studio audience?
It's nice.
It's delicious.
It is. It's Chardonnay.
What would you recommend pairing with it? Oysters?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I can tell you that I actually was in a dining society with the late Julia Child. I have a recipe that she loves with no oak, white Burgundy Chardonnay.
Wait, can you back that thing up? Julia Child, for real?
Oh yeah, I knew her. I'm actually buds with Jacques Pepin too. But
Oh my gosh.
yes, well, you know, I'm a professional overeater.
Well, you're from Wisconsin.
What's the recipe?
You take a really nice piece of fresh salmon, the fillet, without the bone in it, and you simply broil it. And while you're broiling it, and you don't want to overcook it because there's nothing worse than overcooked fish,
Yes, sir.
you make scrambled eggs, but in a double boiler with plenty of butter. You don't fry them. You like, well, you know, they get nice and fluffy. And then you can shave a little white truffle in there if you have some. And then the last thing you do to assemble, you take your salmon, put the scrambled eggs on top, and then you bathe the whole thing in hollandaise sauce.
You had me at bathe.
Wow.
And
Where the hell were you when we were talking about lunch menu?
Sorry.
That sounds incredible.
it is
This would be great with
about
that.
600 calories.
I was gonna say, it sounds low
You
calorie
could
too.
probably break that down into like an appetizer, a little one bite.
Shooters.
Yeah.
You could,
But
but
even-
YOLO.
Would you?
Yeah, good point, Russ.
But even think about just easy stuff. Prosciutto is amazing
Yep.
with this.
Absolutely, because the salt and prosciutto would go perfectly with this wine. In fact, the other great picnic dish that they make in Burgundy for white wine is this wonderful loaf where you take chunks of ham and add tons and tons and tons of minced fresh parsley and just white wine and clear gelatin, and you make this wonderful loaf just to have at the picnic. And for the life of me, I can't think of the name of that right
What is
now.
clear gelatin?
Sounds like it's from Germany.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep. Well, that's how they make cold cut loaves.
Right.
You know, they hold everything together in it.
right?
I'd eat it.
Yeah.
I
Where
put
did
that
you
in my
come
mouth.
Surprise.
Wisconsin.
But you just have a slice of that with a good blob of Dijon mustard. Dijon, by the way, being in the heart of
Right
Burgundy.
there, yep.
For sure.
It has its own appellation contrôlée, the Dijonnaise, and it's really good. And I will think of the name of that before we're done here. I know I will.
Well, I don't think we're just gonna keep drinking, so probably maybe
Probably
tomorrow
not.
you'll think.
Actually, that's when I get my sharpest
Oh, is
focus.
it? Yeah.
I'm in the zone.
What's next?
All right, after
Yeah.
so we're going to leave Mâconnais, and we're going to go about a half an hour north into a zone that most people don't know exists. It's called the Côte Chalonnaise. In the Côte Chalonnaise, we have a wine called Montagny. So you'll see it over there, and you can bring it over here, and we'll talk about it a bit.
What was the price point on the last one we just had?
On Pouilly-Vinzelles,
20-ish.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Maybe a
Well,
little less.
I would buy that.
Might as well call those the roaring.
It happens to be available by the case at Wine Maniacs.
Oh, Wine Maniacs. On the river or at
WineManiacs.com.
the bistro in the Conwalk. Get there today.
Feel free to call up and buy a case.
Or two.
So in the little village of Montagny, and if you're not speaking French when you're out there looking for this in a shelf in a wine shop, it looks like Montagny.
Okay.
The village of Montagny was pretty much undiscovered until, I'm sorry, I have to do the commercial. Louis Latour went there in like 1950 and said, I don't know, I like this soil. I think I'm going to grow Chardonnay here. And even the World Encyclopedia of Wine by Jancis Robinson, she'll tell you that Montagny belongs to Louis. He made the town famous. So this is, coming up the side, this is a Premier Cru, okay? So this is an elevation. Yeah. True enough.
Real wine here.
Crew enough for me.
Yeah,
So-
Ann, I don't think you're going to like this one. So could you just share?
It's like dancing
So
on
then
the glass.
$120.
It's a 2 live crew.
Yeah.
Smelling like gourmet popcorn on the nose.
Ah, very good. That's one of the
That's a
one of
great
the
catch.
varietal components.
Yeah.
So it,
Good work.
You're hired.
That's our Amy.
so it's Montagny Premier Cru, and this one actually has a vineyard designation called Le Grand Rosche, which means the big rock, and literally if you go there, this is like a 15-acre gravel pit on about a 40-degree angle. And you'd look at that and you go, hell, nothing's gonna grow there but dandelions. But alas, vines like a challenge.
Yeah.
And so Louis Latour for 50 years has put vines on the gravel hillsides of Montagny. And they finally bent, modified, edited the laws of Burgundy and said, yes, we've never had a Premier Cru vineyard in the Côte Chalonnaise before, but Louis shown us that it can be. So this is the first and one of only 2 Premier Cru vineyards in all of the Côte Chalonnaise.
Uh-huh.
It's a very small area, about the size of downtown Dousman.
Daddy like.
Yeah, it's
Local reference.
beautiful.
Yeah, this is good.
So this, all of Burgundy, I know that there's all these subregions, but essentially it's limestone, high calcium that we're tasting coming through the whites. Is
I
that
see
right?
you've been doing your reading.
Well, Scott
You're
makes
welcome.
us. Yeah.
There's
This
about
is all Scott's.
there's
all
like a
his fault.
1,200 acre limestone shelf that goes under most of Burgundy at about 30 feet below the soil. And most geologists will tell you that that's what is responsible for Burgundy tasting the way it is. So when the grapes finally have enough tenacity to reach down and touch that limestone, it comes back up through the capillary system of the roots, and that's what makes Burgundy Burgundy.
So when you're talking like a 40-degree slope, I'm assuming a lot of this is then hand harvested. They don't really use a lot of mechanisms.
That's absolutely correct, because soil is everything in Burgundy. I've been there when it's downpoured, and we were going to go out and have a nice dinner, and everybody's like, well, dinner's canceled. And I'm like, why? Because it just rained 1.5 inches, so everybody's got to go out there and scoop up the dirt that rinsed out in the deluge and throw it back up
to
in
the
the
top.
vineyards.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
oh yeah, yeah, soil's everything to them.
Is that Sisyphus? Is that the guy that pushes the boulder?
He does push the boulder. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's not unlike trying to make money in this business.
And I thought you were calling me names.
No.
I think that's where
You
the term
Sisyphus.
sissy comes from.
Uh-huh.
So
By a
here's
guy
the,
who pushes a boulder 24/7?
well, because when he doesn't make it, he's a sissy.
Ah.
But when he succeeds, then
He's a fuss.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
But no, I did have a question about like with any climate change going on. Are they noticing any effects in that area, or you said it was shaped like a bowl, so I'm guessing maybe it's staying pretty consistent in
Well,
that area?
you're asking a great question, because it allows us to talk about something that's going to happen soon enough, too soon, if you will. I believe we're drinking the 14 vintage, which is excellent and in pretty good supply right now. And next vintage, the 15, there's not as much of it, but it's a very good vintage too. But just in the last few months, the 16, they suffered a horrific hard frost at bud break. And the 16 vintage probably will be less than 20% of the available Burgundy will be produced in. So
Through all of Burgundy?
through all of Burgundy.
Oh, no.
So you know what?
Prices
Buy the
are going up.
14 or get
Fire
ready to
sale.
hold on to your
Invest
wallet,
now.
because
Right.
Yeah.
I know that in about October or November there's going to be a major price increase, because these guys have to look at making it through 2016 vintage
Right.
with 20% of their income.
So is it going to be a matter of quantity and the quality will still be the same? Or are
That
you-
remains to be seen at the
be
end of this
determined.
growing season.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see. But you know, farmers are not millionaires, and they suffer the laws of nature. And
Right.
anybody they look at Louis Latour and they go, he's got a nice chateau there. They've had it for, since 1797. The guy must be oozing money. Well, you're not going to be oozing money in 2016. So you have to mitigate those circumstances to allow for Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so buy now, people.
Bye now. Call
Or
Jeff
don't.
Cox at Wine
Or don't.
Maniacs.
I feel like I think we should cut this whole thing in post and let me just buy it all.
So this, just to revise the conversation, this is Chalonnaise, Côte de Chalonnaise, but it's no oak. also. So we're going to change it very shortly.
Oh no. I'm nervous. Wrong
Can
direction.
you tell us more about Louis Latour's, I mean, not many businesses in any industry have been around for 200 years in the family, and just like their philosophy and what kind of drives them to do this. And
I can because I know the family.
yeah.
There's a Swiss foundation called the Heinekens Society, which salutes family-owned businesses that have been handed down generation to generation for more than 200 years.
I love this. I'm Swiss. I'm biased.
There you go.
I know you were Swiss.
Yeah, so I'm short.
That's why you're hot. Hello.
Well, Louis Latour,
Sorry.
with all regard to your beauty, Louis Latour is a member of the Heineken Society, and they have been around since 1797. This being the 4th of July weekend, I'll impart a quick story. I was in the cellars of Louis Latour for the first time as a punk wine merchant in about, it must have been 1982 or 83. Yeah. And they said, well, come on down into the deep cellar. You're a VIP. We're going to taste some old wines. And he said, make sure you sign the register of the important people who've been here.
Wow.
So I flipped back to the front of the book. And on August something or other, in about 1798, when Latour was 1 year old as a company, I noticed a familiar signature which appears on the Declaration of Independence.
Crazy.
Shut up.
A guy by the name of Thomas Jefferson.
Oh my God. That's right, because he was in France.
Yeah, he was Secretary of State for George Washington,
Right.
President George Washington, and he was visiting, and he and Louis Latour the first, Louis Denis Latour, no, Louis Etienne Latour in 1797. They were drinking buddies.
Oh my God,
So-
that's so awesome.
And so they were there, 20 meters below the ground in a limestone cave is the book. And I'm standing where Thomas Jefferson used to stand.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, I just got goosebumps.
The
I know.
reason I know that you're not bullshitting us is because I've listened to Hamilton, Jason.
It's all she does now. Just constantly listening to the play Hamilton.
And yeah, so we all
So
know.
her history is spot
I'm
on.
pretty much an expert
She's been
on
fact-checked
this
by
time
Broadway.
and place, so I believe you.
And with all due regard to my friends at Louis Latour, there is another small vintner that when I can buy his wines, I grab them, but that's not very often, who is Etienne. By the way, Etienne is a French name for Stephen. Etienne Perron, like parent. And he also was a great friend of Thomas Jefferson's. And so, you know, I should tell you, if you have any aspirations to travel there as a tourist,
Yes.
you got to know somebody like Jeff or somebody like me, because you know it's
We
not
know
like
both of
going
you.
to Napa. You don't get on the bus and go through the front gate of Robert Mondavi there. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're who? From where? Okay,
Go
come
away.
back and see us in the fall.
You know, the other contemporary at that time was Charles Montesquieu, the Baron Charles Montesquieu, who was a Bordeaux producer.
Okay.
But he is the guy that wrote The Spirit of Law. But he was a philosopher, but he made all his money selling wine. And he was a contemporary of Jefferson and Franklin and Lafitte. And
They say that the reason our Declaration of Independence is so creatively authored is because these guys were half full of wine most of the time.
we call it gassed.
All right, you ready to move into oak?
Do it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
what do we
sad
have
to
next?
move on, but we should.
Well, it's only going to be more complex. So do you have a Puligny-Montrachet over there? Straight Puligny-Montrachet? This one? Yeah. So we're going back down to the lowly village level now, the AC, but we're going up into central Burgundy, the Côte de Beaune, or what they call the Côte d'Or, the Golden Coast. So here everything...
Just got
Wait,
serious
bone
up
means
in here.
door?
No, Beaune is just a little town. There's a triangle that covers this whole area, and they just call it, well, it's a euphemistic geological
I like euphemisms.
Is that a euphemism?
It might be.
So-
They have the underground.
It's like calling Michigan Avenue in Chicago the Gold Coast. Well, this is the Gold Triangle.
I gotcha.
So you're just outside of the village of Beaune in a little tiny town, maybe the size of Waterloo.
Local reference.
Yes, called Puligny, and there you see the vineyard of Puligny-Montrachet.
Ooh.
And this is well, you can if you whoa.
Definitely
is,
notice the difference in the
like-
color
yeah.
right away.
I got cinnamon.
Well, that's the barrel. Thank you, dear.
Cinnamon you get?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Big time.
We need some of those cookies in here, stat.
Ginger snaps.
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
pretty good. Wow, you guys are no dummies.
We drink a lot.
I think that's our new spot, our new advertising spot. Hey,
Wine horse.
you guys are no
You
dummy.
guys-
We drink a lot.
Done.
Well,
Thank you.
This is
Merci.
probably
Beaucoup.
très bien.
That's Murky Buck-ups to you.
Mercy.
Murky Buck-ups.
Mercy buckets.
Très bien.
Wow. This is complex.
No, well,
So-
that's the barrel.
I am so grateful to get to try an unoaked next to an oaked, which is an experiment you could set up at home.
Right.
Totes. And so you can really begin to taste what oak barrel does to the wine.
Well, in our end of the business, this is what's known as a fat Chardonnay.
Is it a newer barrel then?
And it's not pH. by
They
the way.
usually do at least 1/3 new oak with each vintage. And by the time it gets down to the third usage, then it's usually sold. Strangely enough, Jack Daniels is a big,
Yeah.
big customer for old Burgundy barrels. And after Jack Daniels has had their go at it, then they cut them in half and you buy them for planters at Kmart.
Yeah.
They're still way too expensive.
We don't allow Jack in our house because then angry Jason comes out.
It's the only alcohol that does that to me. It's like
really
my
weird.
Jekyll and Hyde thing.
I think I might have been married to your sister.
Jack Daniels.
Jekyll and Hydra. So Côte de Beaune, now we're more northern, other than Chablis, more than the northern part of Burgundy, right?
You're right in the heart of it.
Is that in terms of production volume, you're most likely to get a white Burgundy from Côte de Beaune?
No. The real volume comes from where we started down in the Mâconnais.
Okay.
It's only after you've behaved well for a number of decades that you get to come up here.
Can you review price points again?
all right,
Or at
well,
least like the last two.
Stuff got a little serious now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go. We talked about the Mâconnais, and we know that's all 2025. And so then we went to the Côte Chalonnaise, the Montagny.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a Premier Cru. So that's going to be closer to 32, 33.
Still not nuts.
Not crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I would
now,
have expected more.
You deserve it.
There was a time when Jason wouldn't pay more than $8 for a white, but now he's been converted, mainly because of white Burgundy.
He actually
Totally.
spends more than $8 for wine. When did that start?
You can follow this evolution on the Wine Wars podcast.
You can.
Yeah.
It's
the
heavier.
tax on this is more than that.
By the end of this podcast, we're hoping to have him drinking Syrah. We'll see.
So when you get up into the Côte de Beaune, and even this is a village wine, an AC.
Shut
first
up.
level.
This is village wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you just made the jump to about $75.
Ooh.
I want to live in that village.
So that's a really important point because the designation maybe doesn't sometimes mean as much as the region or the understanding of how region pairs next to designation.
Well, that's why I'm reluctant to do this whole interview, because I don't want anybody to know anything about Burgundy, or otherwise it's going to get all hogged up.
I think it's just so hard because with wine, you're staring at 100 bottles on a shelf and you don't know.
Right.
And basically, at the end of the day, you're like, can I pronounce any of this? And how much does it cost?
And why would
that's
you ever
like-
buy a wine you haven't tasted?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. So do you have these as glass? Any of these as glass pours?
We do the Pouilly-Vinzelles.
Okay.
We have done the Mâconnais. We usually don't do both at the same time because you hit the Department of Redundancy department.
Gotcha.
But when you start getting into this range, it's impossible to glass pour.
Yeah.
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 But that's why you need to develop a relationship with somebody like you who can give great recommendations.
However, at the end of July, we will be doing a white Burgundy dinner.
Oh, that would be
So
fun.
if you want to come to vacation in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin,
Which is beautiful in July.
We have lakes.
We do.
have wine. We have food.
We've got everything.
We might even have salmon with truffled scrambled eggs in the holidays.
uh-oh, gotta come.
You know, weirdly enough, that could happen.
That would be awesome.
Amazing.
I know a guy.
But for real, I blame a lot on Scott, and I think that's just. But
You're welcome.
Well, what are you blaming on him?
Everything.
everything, but but also Jeff is not without guilt, without blame in all of this.
Well, mostly, Jeff.
Mostly Jeff.
You're drinking, or what for what?
She's
Well, I'm
gonna
just
blame me
saying,
for getting her drunk every
because
time
Jeff
she
knows
comes.
when I first met him, I don't know, more than a decade ago, that I liked big butter, and I cannot lie. And I had like my huge buttery shards, but Jeff would say, okay, you did not dismiss me. You would just say like, okay, I know your palate, and here's how I'm gonna push you today on your palate. And you have like
Here's how we're learning.
the
We're
bleeding
learning.
edge, like
We're learning.
RNAs that I won't drink, but you are like helping me understand how to move my palate, and it has. But that's because I know you, and you are helping me. Like it's different than just shopping at your grocery store
Right.
wine shop. I wouldn't have learned anything.
Right.
Are we ready to move on?
Moving right along.
So we are now to, is this our last bottle, am I correct?
Yes.
Holy
Right,
cow!
so-
Hope so.
I'm not ready for it to be the end.
We have a shot of survival.
So this is another great Côte de Beaune from the Golden Triangle, the Côte d'Or. This is Meursault. And if you see this on the shelf, it looks like Meursault.
You know, your pores are getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
I'm gonna finish a bottle.
Are you drinking back there too?
A little bit.
All right.
So this is Meursault.
How's
And
the audience?
good. We bumped it up to Premier Cru for this, for the big finish.
Whoa.
So this is Meursault,
Whoa, really?
Premier Cru, Chateau de Blagney.
I can have a real pour thing.
You want to?
On this one, I'll take it.
I might have pours on the other, but
So the three big appellations in the Côte de Beaune are Puligny-Montrachet, which you just had, Chasson-Montrachet, which we just, well, I'm sold out, so you don't get any today, and Meursault, which looks again like Meursault on the label. So this is a Premier Cru, Meursault, Chateau de Blagney, single vineyard. This one actually has some special distinction. The Chateau de Blagney is up on a hillside overlooking all of the village of Meursault. It was owned by two maiden sisters, neither of which ever married. And in about 1830, 1835, something like that, they succumbed to the charms of whichever Louis was there at the time. And sold him the
Been there.
vineyard. Yes, well, you know, it happens. And so he bought the vineyard, and so this is one additional bit of rarity. This is what we call a monopole, or a le dit, which means one guy owns the whole thing. So you will never get Meursault Premier Cru Chateau de Blagney unless you buy it from Louis Latour.
That's
So-
hot.
So this
Say
is
that French word again.
le dit.
Okay, you have to move away from him.
getting all sweaty.
Scott's getting lucky.
He didn't even finish.
Well, I do have a bottle of Batard Montrachet Grand Cru in my car.
Sounds très bien.
It's a van with no windows. Don't.
This is free candy on this side. Free candy.
Could you help me with this couch? Maybe I forgot it. Sorry.
So little girl.
Oh my god. This is the best podcast ever.
So you notice there's considerable more complexity here. And what now? You have a great nose. What are you smelling this?
I don't have a great nose. Amy actually has the best of the four of us, I think. But
And she's an author, so she has good words
So she has,
that go
yeah,
with it.
yeah. She
Jason caught the cinnamon.
she can match the what she smells and the colors with a beautiful phrase.
Oh my gosh. No pressure.
fair.
No pressure.
All right.
So-
Well, I was getting like a tiny bit of honeycomb, but not overwhelming like in a Sauternes.
Perfect. Yeah, it does have more of a dessert wine.
I was gonna say flowers.
That's true.
too.
Yeah.
No.
But flowers
Floral.
without being
Like
like,
lemon
a
zest.
sharp flower, like a soft,
Like-
open, like a
like-
peony.
Like
Lemon
mellow
meringue.
flowers.
Lemon meringue.
How about, the connoisseurs say it smells of Meyer lemon, but I eat those so infrequently that I wouldn't know,
Yeah.
you know. But there is some citrus in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the others are more
Like
mineral. This definitely has more floral
Like
and zest.
candied lemon.
Oh.
Like,
Yep, that's good.
You know those
Well,
candied lemon
drop-
wines? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not that it matters, but of the big three in the Côte de Beaune, Puligny-Montrachet, Chardonnay, and Meursault, they always say that Meursault is the most charmingly feminine of the three. The other two are more robust, and this is the most delicate one.
This is all lady.
kind of dancey, you know, and like a tease.
And we're back to no oak.
You would
on
know.
this one.
No,
There is oak in this.
No, this is well oaked.
Really? You wouldn't really be able to. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell.
The master's touch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You see, it's got the yellow color.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is where they're more judicial with the oak, you know, instead
Or
of.
perhaps the toasting of the barrel.
Oh, okay. Do you want to talk a little about toasting?
No, because,
As opposed to getting toasted?
Right.
oh, isn't that what we were talking about?
I think so.
We've been toasting
actually-
ourselves all day.
Would like to propose a toast,
Oh.
and that is to my dear Scott
No.
and his
Uh-huh.
happy birthday. Happy birthday, Scott!
Happy birthday.
He's a 4th of July baby.
How about it? You and Louis Armstrong.
Happy birthday, Scott. Sorry, I'm a bitch to you.
Yes. Yep. Every year there's fireworks just for me.
Aw, you
for
think
him.
you were a Gemini? He's an honorary Gemini.
So that's the wrap. You know, we don't have a ground crew because I'm not a millionaire, but they are out there. You can get Corton Charlemagne, Bertard Montrachet, Bienvenue Bertard Montrachet, Chevalier Montrachet, and most elegant of all, Montrachet, which is about $1,200 a bottle. So, final footnote, I met a Bordeaux tasting 20 years ago in Chicago at the Drake Hotel. And a good friend of mine, Petrus de Bois from Chateau Saint-Georges Saint-Emilion, which is a Saint-Emilion, a right bank satellite of
We had lunch
Bordeaux.
there, Jeff.
You do? Oh, excellent.
I had a croque madame.
Oh, it's
So
wonderful.
Jean-Paul.
Oh,
And it didn't suck.
No, no.
No.
très bien. So, Petrus takes us all out for dinner over to this little place on Orleans Street after dinner, and I'm with Mr. Bordeaux. And he says, bring us the list, and he orders 3 bottles of Burgundy, and I said, what? And I said, are you kidding? And he said, oh, my friend, I tell you something. In Bordeaux, we make many, many, many beautiful wines. But Burgundy, she's magic.
Thanks, everyone. I think that's been Wine Wars for this week. Or do you have
No,
All
I'm
right,
good.
that's been Wine Wars for this week.
Vive la France!
Vive la France. Très bien. Bravo, tout le monde. All right. So until next time, remember.
It's just
grape juice.